توبا.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. We seek the protection of God from Shaitan, who has been disqualified from God's kingdom of special grace and mercy because of his satanic habits. If we avoid these satanic habits, arrogance, whatever we know to be true and righteous by the guidance of the God-given intellect, the divine revelation, the human conscience, we submit. And if we avoid the satanic habit of defiance, whatever we know to be evil and false by the guidance of the God-given intellect, divine revelation, and human conscience, we don't commit. And if we have reliance on God, definitely we'll get the strength to be able to discern what is right and wrong and to be able to oppose it. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We seek grace and blessings from God because He is Allah, the all-perfect being. Nobody can achieve any goodness or perfection until and unless Allah wills it so. And we ask for His grace and blessings because He is Rahman. His rahmah and love and care and mercy pervades the whole of the universe. Every entity is brought to life and then enabled to reach its goal of creation by His mercy. And we ask for His grace and blessings because He is Rahim. He's abundant, overflowing, generous, continuous, eternal pardon and forgiveness and mercy and reward is available, but only to those who believe in Him and who submit to His will. Alhamdulillah, all praise belongs to God and God alone. I quote a praise from the khutbah of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Alhamdulillah العلي عن شبه المخلوقين الغالب لمقال الواصفين الظاهر بعجائب تدبيره للناظرين والباطن بجلال عزته عن فكر المتوهمين. All praise belongs to God because He has all these perfect attributes. Imam alayhi salam mentions about 10 of them in this khutbah. He is high and exalted, so He is incomparable to any of the creation. The problem with us human beings is that we live amongst the creation, our understanding and perception and familiarity with all the other beings is through what we see. But when we come to God, we need to remove these qualities of the creature and not apply it to the Creator. Exalted is He, high is He, from all these similarities with His creation. And therefore, all our attempts to describe Him must be in terms of His being above all defects and having all the perfect qualities. Nobody can adequately and appropriately describe Him because His essence is indescribable. However, He is visible and manifest and apparent everywhere because of the way He has created the universe, and His signs and His indicators are everywhere. You even ask the top scientists, whether it's biology or astronomy or biochemistry or any of the other sciences, and they will tell you about the findings which are amazing, which cannot be explained by chance, and which therefore indicate the presence of an all-wise, intelligent designer. However, despite all of this, He is apparent through His signs, but He is hidden in His essence and unreachable. العالم بلا اكتساب ولا ازدياد ولا علم مستفاد. He's all-knowing. But again, his way of knowing is not like us. We learn, we observe, we experiment, we investigate, we hear. That's how we know. His knowledge is unlimited by his essence, by his perfection. Al-Muqaddiri لِجَمِيعِ الْأُمُورِ بِلَا رَوِيَّةٍ وَلَا ضَمِيرٍ. And he plans and decrees and decides, but not like us. We ponder, reflect, pros, cons, benefits, risks, refer to our conscience. He's above these limited ways of deciding. He's unlimited in his wisdom and knowledge. The moment there is something known to be of high benefit and goodness, he acts on it. الَّذِي لَا تَغْشَاهُ الظُّلَمْ وَلَا يَسْتَضِيءُ بِالْأَنْوَارِ. And he perceives and he knows, again, not like us. We need the light to reflect on the object that we want to visualize. Don't tell me now we have dark goggles that enable us to see in the darkness. Even that is somehow converted to a light that we can see. We are creatures who are limited by senses which need material forms of energy to stimulate our senses to perceive. He's above all these limited means. وَلَا يَرْهَقُهُ لَيْلٌ وَلَا يَجْرِي عَلَيْهِ نَهَارٌ. Day and night don't influence him. He's above time. لَيْسَ إِدْرَاكُهُ بِالْإِبْصَارِ وَلَا عِلْمُهُ بِالْإِخْبَارِ. And therefore his perception is not by visualization, and his awareness is not by information given to him. He is unlimited and all perfect and all aware and all consciousness. He is the absolute consciousness. Praise be to him and him alone. أوصيكم عباد الله ونفسي بتقوى الله. Community of believers, I wish to remind you, as I do myself, and to recommend to you as I do to myself, the necessity of taqwa. In this holy month of Shaban, we need to remind ourselves about the significance of this month. Shaykh Tusi alayhi rahmah and Sayyid ibn Tawus have reported this dua from Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, which is recited daily after the Dhuhr prayers, whereby we send our salawat on the Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam, and then towards the end we say, وَهَذَا شَهْرُ سَيِّدِ رُسُلِكَ شَعْبَانَ. And this is the month of your greatest of the prophets, the month of Shaban. In the riwayat, the Holy Prophet ﷺ says that Ramadan is Shahrullah, but Shaban is Shahri. Shaban is associated to me. الذي حففته منك بالرحمة والرضوان الذي كان رسول الله يدأب في صيامه وقيامه في لياليه وأيامه بخوعا لك, according to one version, نجوعا لك في إكرامه وإعظامه إلى محل حمامه. In this holy month, therefore, recognizing its significance and its spiritual status, the Holy Prophet used to engage in extra worship. He would fast during the days, he would engage in extra worship during the night, and this was a practice he continued till the end of his life. And therefore, we are told that we should seek to follow the example of the Prophet. If we obey the order of God in the month of Ramadan as wajib fast, so in the month of Sha'ban, out of love for the Prophet, we should also fast. The hadith says, "Man sama yawman min shahri, wajabat lahul jannah." It's not only the wajib fast in the holy month of Ramadan, even a single day, voluntarily, the person has understood who the Prophet is, how close is he to God, how much he knows God and loves God and obeys God and does everything in his life to please God, and therefore he has recognized in his superior wisdom the benefit of fasting, and it is a means of getting closer to God and being able to carry out one's social functions in society. Fasting becomes recommended. but out of love for the Prophet. مَحَبَّةً لِلنَّبِيِّ وَتَقَرُّبًا إِلَى اللَّهِ. And بُخُوعًا لَكَ, out of humility towards God. Or you say نُجُوعًا لَكَ, out of respect and honor for this month and for what Allah likes and loves. فأعنا على الاستنان بسنته فيه ونيل الشفاعة لديه. Oh Allah, give us the strength, the willpower, the determination to follow the sunnah of the Prophet, not only in the wajibat, but also in the mustahabbat. In fact, the month of Shaban is called Shaban because there is tasha'ub, shu'b. There are branches. Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, according to one riwayah, he says that Sammahu Rabbuna Sha'ban litasha'ub al-khayrati fihi. There are many acts of goodness recommended in this month as a means to get closer to God. And then he says, وَالشُّعَبُ خَيْرَاتِهِ الصَّلَاةُ وَالصَّوْمُ وَالزَّكَاةُ وَالْأَمْرُ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَالنَّهِي عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَبِرُّ الْوَالِدَيْنِ وَالْقَرَابَاتِ وَالْجِيرَانِ وَإِصْلَاحُ ذَاتِ الْبَيْنِ وَالصَّدَقَةِ. 10 examples he mentions of recommended acts: extra salah in this month, extra fasting in this month, extra charity, zakat whenever it applies according to the fatwa of the mujtahids. Amr bil ma'roof and nahi anil munkar, whatever is good we urge and bid, whatever is evil we forbid. And to be kind and respectful towards parents and relatives and neighbors, and to try to resolve disagreements and disputes and conflicts, and ultimately to show compassion, sadaqah and charity and goodwill to the needy and the poor. This weekend, our community will be hosting guests, representatives, officials, and leaders of the World Federation here for their triannual meeting. And therefore, I thought it's important to remind ourselves about our duty and role that we should also be playing in this community. The whole concept of this community revolves around shura. Shura meaning that there should be mutual consultation and then a joint decision being made of how to run and govern the community, be it at a local level, be it at a regional level, be it at a global level. There's a surah in the Quran named the Surah of Shura, in which this concept of shura is mentioned, chapter number 42. Beginning from ayah number 36 onwards, there's a description of an ideal community which is recommended by the Quran, that it should have these 10 qualities. In the preceding verses, Allah says, there are those people who don't believe in God. In fact, they oppose God's laws. In fact, they're rebellious and sinful. Tell them, beware, when you're traveling in your aeroplane in the sky, do you think, sorry, this is not mentioned in the Quran, but I'm applying it. The example mentioned is the ship in the sea. Well, the plane is flying in the sea of air. If on the ocean this ship is going to be struck by a storm, Allah is the one who wills how the winds will blow. And so also how the plane can be struck by a storm whereby the pilot loses control. Tell them, Allah is the ultimate power. So why do you, for the sake of this dunya, know the truth, knowingly you abandon God's laws and oppose Him? فَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ فَمَتَاعُ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Whatever you have in this dunya, they are temporary, passing comforts. They're not true sources of pleasure which are deep and eternal. قَنِينِي وَمَا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى. Whatever is with God, whatever He promises, whatever you do in obedience to His command. This universe has been built by Him. It is being run by His laws. Conform to those laws, and Allah will make the universe come to serve you. What Allah can give you is much better than what you can probably achieve in this lowest dunya, lowest of the worlds that He has created, with the least of the means of comfort and pleasure. So who can aspire and who can qualify for those high rewards nearer to God? 10 qualities are mentioned for this community. لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. It is for those who have true faith and who have true reliance on God. Bloomberg had an interesting interview they conducted with some of the richest billionaires. One of them was asked, so what is happiness for you? He says, well, beyond a certain amount of money that you earn, where your basic needs and maybe your extra desires and luxury aspirations are fulfilled, beyond that, money is not the source of happiness. Ultimately, at the end of life, you discover it is what respect and admiration and love that you get from your family, from your friends, that is more lasting as a source of happiness. Well, this rich man has discovered only partly how money is not enough for happiness, and how partly family and friends. But then you can have a situation where even your family and friends are not helpful, but there's something much greater than family and friends as a source of happiness. And this is what this ayah is trying to educate us. لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. For those who have faith, of course the true faith, a faith which has entered the heart, where a person is convinced of the truth, where therefore there is sincerity, there is admission and acceptance of God's plan, of God's wisdom, of God's power. And therefore, وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. They conduct their affairs, but they know, despite all efforts, despite all the best of what their mind can produce, or they can seek help from other minds, ultimately success depends on Him. You can have everything, but Allah wills for you not to succeed. You can have nothing or very little, but Allah can will for you to succeed. وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. They know God is all-knowing. He knows my problems. They know God is all-powerful. He can solve my problems. They know God is all-merciful and loving. If I trust Him, He will support me and help me and grant me success. Beyond that, this community is one which وَالَّذِينَ يَجْتَنِبُونَ كَبَائِرَ الْإِثْمِ وَالْفَوَاحِشِ. If they believe in God, that God is all-knowing, and if they believe that God is all-wise, therefore His plan for my life is important. He knows better than me. He knows better than anybody else what is good for me, what is harmful and evil and hurtful for me. And therefore, whatever He says don't do, they avoid sins, especially the major sins. The major sins, by definition, are those for which the Quran has promised the fire of hell for those sins. So, for example, shirk, for example, losing hope in God's grace and mercy, for example, to lie and to backbite, for example, not to carry out the acts of the ibadah, salah, and one's financial duties, to cut off relations with no salih rahim, for example, and onwards. There's a whole list of the major sins. The sign of true faith of this community, that it has received guidance from God and it is moving in the right direction, they avoid the major sins. But interesting, the Quran says, يَجْتَنِبُونَ كَبَائِرَ الْإِثْمِ وَالْفَوَاحِشِ. Specifically, they avoid sex crimes, no homosexuality, no zina. Amazing, from all the sins, these have been mentioned specifically. The weakness of man, left on his own, with his own understanding and opinions and so-called scientific discoveries which try to justify homosexuality or philandering, for example. They'll tell you, but it's all happening in the animal kingdom. Yes, but that's the animal kingdom, not the human kingdom. Despite all these opinions and so-called interpretations of observations, the Quran says no, the higher wisdom says no fawahish. And وَإِذَا مَا غَضِبُوا هُمْ يَغْفِرُونَ. Definitely you'll come across situations where people will irritate you, they'll provoke you, they'll hurt you, they'll abuse you, and you feel angry. Anger can be right, anger can be wrong, but beware. Even when anger is justified, such people are so aware of the destructive nature of anger. They say anger is just like a hot coal, piece of coal that you hold in your hand, and you want to throw it at your victim. But what you don't realize is before the hot piece of coal is going to burn the mind and the heart and the body by your abusive anger, before it hurts your victim, it has burnt you. Lakini umelala. You are not conscious of the pain that you're suffering. When you wake up, that's when you realize how much you've damaged yourself before you've hurt somebody. These people are aware of the destructive force of anger, and therefore they control, and therefore they forgive those who provoke them. And beyond that, وَالَّذِينَ إِسْتَجَابُوا لِرَبِّهِمْ. Because true faith has entered their heart, they know God is all-powerful, all-knowing, all-wise, all-loving. And therefore it's not possible for him to call me, but that it is for something good for me. Hayya ala salah, labbaik Allahumma labbaik. No, it's not only for Hajj. It's for every call that God makes. Such people have true faith. Whenever there is a command of God, they are responsive, they are submissive. And therefore, as part of their submission to the Lord, you find that وَأَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ, they establish prayer. They don't pray, they establish prayer. That means they pray on time, they pray punctually, they pray regularly, they pray in congregation, they pray with concentration. No, they establish and erect and keep up prayers wherever they are. Be they in their homes, they'll set up an atmosphere of prayerfulness. Be they in their workplace. And that's why you have in the riwayah, there's a masjid which is Masjidus Suq, Msikiti wa Soko. Sokoni also there's a masjid. Sawa, you can't come from the Suq back to the central masjid. Pray there. Aqamu salata. Or there is a Masjidul Qabila, where you have your neighborhood where you're staying. In the past there were tribal neighborhoods. Pray in that masjid, but collectively, in congregation, punctually and regularly. وَأَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُمْ. And in their own affairs, they have shura and consultation. Definitely two minds are better than one mind. Definitely more educated, more God-fearing, more sincere, more godly minds are better than one single mind. And therefore the principle of shura is recommended. Incidentally, the fundamental reasons why we have elections. For example, in the Islamic Republic of Iran, one of the justifications for having election of a president, an executive officer who represents the rest of the nation, is because of the principle of shura. We have collectively studied these 6 candidates who have been approved to be presidential candidates, and we found that so and so is more qualified, is more competent, is more caring, is more compassionate, has got a vision, has got a passion to serve the nation, and therefore we are electing him to office. This is one type of shura. Lakini, the ayah says, وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُمْ. In their affairs, how should it be governed? They can choose somebody to represent them. But not in God's affairs. In God's affairs, Sharia is not to be decided by the majority. Majority says, hijab, you know, in these modern times, observing hijab is difficult. This is not amruhum. This is amrullah, hijab. We need to relax the Sharia in some cases. It becomes very difficult. No, it's not Amruhum, it's Amrullah. In Amrullah, there is no Shura. Yes, once we know what is Amrullah by the most qualified, expert, Mujtahid, Marja', who is the best amongst all whom we follow, yes, we can make Shura of how to implement and execute and live according to those principles of Amrullah. وَأَمْرُهُمْ شُورَى بَيْنَهُمْ. Incidentally, this Surah Shura, in which this ayah is mentioned, actually discusses the whole concept of wahi. Right from the beginning, ayah number 1, Allah talks about why this wahi, the Quran, is so great. Because the sender is great. He's Aziz, he's Hakim, he's Ali, he's Azim. So Azim, if his true power were to manifest, and the power of the Quran were to manifest, even the skies and the heavens will shake and tremble. So why did Allah send down wahi, ayah number 6 onwards? To warn people that you can deviate away from God's path. And it shows the proofs for what is tawheed against shirk. And then the third issue discussed in Surah Shura is, but you know, Allah sends a clear wahi with the message, but the recipients of the message begin to interpret it differently, and differences occur between them. So Allah explains why differences arise. The same God has sent the messengers with the same sharia and guidance, be it Ibrahim or Musa or Isa, all have been sent with a common message, yet differences arise from the people of the time and the followers who come later on, because they start making interpretation by themselves, because they start having rivalry and hatred and envy, and they begin to use the Sharia for their benefit and create differences amongst themselves. So the fourth message of the Prophet is, Messenger, it is your duty, fad'u, your da'wah should be towards unity and the unity of God. And then the fate of those who seek differences and divisions and conflict within the community of believers is mentioned, that they are being promised with divine wrath and punishment. And then the fundamentals of this wahi, that it is the deen and the mawadda of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, which will ensure that we stay unified and united on the path of the deen of God. And then, after these basics have been established, now let me describe, God says, what is this community which is going to achieve ultimate success? Those who have iman, those who have tawakkul, those who avoid major sins, those who avoid fawahish, those who control their anger, those who are responsive to God's call, those who establish prayer, those who have shura. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. The ninth quality, whatever we give them, they spend in the way of God. Allah gives wealth to some. Allah gives health to some. Allah gives intelligence to others. Allah gives nothing else but energy to some. Everybody has been granted something that can contribute to the community. Whatever Allah has given, recognize as a gift, recognizes from God, recognize you have a duty to use it, and the best way to use it is for the sake of the community, to drive it collectively and get us closer to Allah. Let's pray to Allah for tawfiq to be able to establish such a community. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal Asr. Allah swears by time. This weekend we shall be having a major conference, and therefore all of us need to be aware of our duties. Innal insana lafi khusr. Man is in a state of loss if he forgets guidance from God. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, except for those who remind themselves what is God's duty. وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and once they know the duty, they carry it out. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ, and then they spread this message of truth. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, and collectively they fight with determination to implement what's good and with determination to oppose what is evil. صدق الله العظيم.